Right then, Blues, I promised you in the watch-along that the first question going to be asked to Pep Guardiola is, are Manchester City too dependent on Erling Haaland? And I've got to ask you the same question, and I have to ask myself, maybe Pep was asked the same question, and he said, yes, we are too dependent. Now, that actually, I thought about it, and I was a little bit surprised that Pep said that, to be honest. And then I thought, well, this is Pep Guardiola we're talking about here. Hang on a gosh darn picking minute. Pep Guardiola saying those things makes me think he's probably one step ahead, because he puts what he wants to put into the media. He allows you to think a certain narrative. He is creating the narrative there, because I think he's already got plan B set, ready, locked and loaded, ready to unload. In the worst case scenario, we do lose Erling Haaland, he's prepared. I am convinced of that. I mean, Marmoush was sat on the bench. There's a clue. There's a clue. That's not the entire plan B. I do think that maybe Pep's thinking, well, why don't you try and have 4 defenders marking Erling Haaland? Instead of just the 3, try and have 4. And then in which case, the rest of the team are completely free. I do think Manchester City are depending on Erling Haaland quite a bit. But what are we supposed to do? The best striker on planet Earth plays for Manchester City. He's leading the line for Manchester City, and he's scoring a phenomenal amount of goals. Like numbers we've never seen before. I saw yesterday he is getting a goal every 47 minutes. Every half he's scoring. Not a goal a game, it's a goal a half he is doing right now. Do you understand what this is? What we're seeing right now? What are we supposed to do? Take a knife to a gunfight? Every Premier League match is a gunfight, and we've got a fucking rocket launcher up front. Of course we're going to use it, because he's bloody brilliant. It's very, very effective. Very effective, and I'm so pleased he plays for Manchester City. So yeah, life without Erling Haaland, a nice hypothetical situation for the rival fans to help sleep at night, get themselves to bed at night nice and easy, having that narrative of, oh, imagine if they lost Erling Haaland. Oh, how good would that be? Yeah, you have that little tonic, that little medicine to make yourself feel better, but ultimately he's fit and firing for Manchester City right now. Absolutely buzzing. Here are the match stats. 2-0. Erling Haaland scored both. Don't you just love it? We dominated this match, really, looking at the numbers. The stats and watching the game back now made me realise how much better we actually were than Everton. There were definitely some moments of concern in that game. I thought in the first half we were a bit sloppy, allowing Everton to create some moments to be a little bit worried about. But in the second half, we just bossed it. We bossed it completely. We limited them to virtually nothing in the second half and controlled the game. Once we'd scored in particular, the game settled down and we just played our stuff and probably should have won that game at the end in particular by 4 or 5-0. So great to see Manchester City dominating. Let's have a look at the player rating, starting with Donnarumma. I love this guy, man. He's so dependable. I mean, there's nothing outstanding about his numbers. There weren't any worldy saves. In fact, there was that one important save that was straight at him but above his head, and he tipped it over the bar, called into action and immediately just deals with it. You know, his commanding presence in the box as well. He had a few throw-ins and a few corners thrown his way, a few crosses, punch, catch, dealing with it. Just great. He's just so dependable. Giving him a 7 for this game. Ruben Diaz. And I love his relationship with the man I was just speaking about, Donnarumma. I mean, these guys, they're just old school, aren't they? Just like two warriors roaring at each other. You know, every time they do something defensively sound, just reliable, they just like roar at each other, don't they? And I love that passion. You can just see it between them, high-fiving every time they do something good. The relationship between Vardiol and Diaz was blossoming. I thought, it's a new relationship this season. We've seen it in the past, but this season, Diaz and Ake, we've not really seen them next to each other. But Donnarumma and Diaz as well is a relationship that I quite like. I'm enjoying what I'm seeing. He dealt with everything that came his way yesterday, anything that came into the box. Struggled a little aerially. You can see that there with the numbers against Beto, but most of those duels were high up the pitch, thankfully, so nothing really dangerous in the penalty area. I've given Diaz a 7.5. Ake. A few sloppy passes in the first half, and I think he's been vilified a little harshly, in my opinion. I thought, yes, he was sloppy, but I do think people tend to see a bad pass given away by an individual, and that's it. That player is stamped with bad game on their heads. One bad pass, boom. Bad game for you, sir. You know what I mean? I actually thought he did all right after that, to be honest. He was pretty good. Seems to have stained the memory of his performance, that pass. There was a 2, actually, in fairness. There were 2 sloppy passes. But his second half performance, watching it back, he was sound as a pound, really good. I think he was nice and controlled in everything he did. He dealt with everything, nullified everything that Everton threw at us, similar to Ruben Diaz. Arguably, he's got better numbers than Ruben Diaz overall, but he still did make those mistakes, so we can't pretend he didn't. In which case, he gets a little bit of a lower score than Ruben Diaz. I've given him a 7. Nico O'Reilly, brilliant work all round for the assist. Great run and composed himself nicely for the cross. I thought he did really well there. I thought Foden found him really well. To compose yourself running at full pelt like that and purposefully finding Erling Haaland like that. There was a few loose balls in his game there that's likely due to him trying that more adventurous type of pass from Nico O'Reilly. But I thought, he had a really tough job actually looking after Ndeye. I thought he was bloody brilliant. He was a pain in the arse at both ends of the pitch, really, because I thought Ndeye was doing incredibly well against Doku and also posing a threat going the other way. He had to look after Doku so much that Nico O'Reilly in the second half, thankfully, didn't have that much work to do. But in the first half, when energy levels were much higher for Ndeye, he could get to both ends of the pitch and be a problem at both ends for City. So, yeah, Nico O'Reilly and Doku had a tough game down that side. Pretty much all down thanks to Ndeye, who I thought was really, really good. Pretty tricky customer, but still, he's bagged himself a vital assist, and I've given him a 7.5 for Nico O'Reilly as a result of that. Nunes, I thought he was one of the best, actually, in that back four. I thought he was really good. I was this close to giving him an 8, actually, Nunes. I thought he was really, really good yesterday. It's those recoveries, man. Look at the recoveries. The work rate was top notch. I would argue Nico O'Reilly's 7.5 was a little bit generous, and I'd argue that Nunes' 7.5 is a little bit harsh, because I actually think Nunes probably had the better game overall than Nico O'Reilly, but Nico O'Reilly gets himself an assist, so that's what's happened there with the scores being equal. But I mean, Nunes did really, really well and truly deserves his 7.5. Nico G, I thought he was fantastic in the first half. A quiet second half performance, which means City were dominating. You want that. You want your defensive midfielder to just fly under the radar and have that nice, steady, under the radar, nobody notices you, anonymous type of performance. And it's not because you're playing poorly, it's just because nothing dangerous is happening. You're controlling the game. And I thought Nico G did that in the second half. And it's just fantastic to know that we've got a player that can put in these vital defensive contributions in particular and still play some nice passes, in particular in the first half. He was finding some nice passes through tight gaps, small little avenues of space, and he was finding players really well. Great to see, considering Rodri's absence. But yeah, not much going on in the second half, so I've given him a 7 for Nico G. Reinders, he just can't seem to stamp his own authority on matches, not to the level I keep doing it, referring to that Wolves game, and it's just not that same performance. We've not seen it since. There were so many little flashes of quality from Reinders that we were seeing, but they're never amounting to anything tangible. You know what I mean? There's never anything there at the end of it, and it's like you're so close to doing something, getting biggest a number of assists in games, or getting himself an important goal or something like that. And I feel like there's definitely, his positioning is good. I like his positioning. The same about Phil Foden as well. I thought he was positioning himself really well, but just not being as effective as we'd like him to be. And it certainly wasn't a bad performance, though. In fact, I don't think he's, really ever had a bad performance, has Reinders. He's just not hit those Wolves heights, has he? And not being able to imprint his name on these matches at the minute. But yeah, 6.5 for Reinders. Bernardo Silva, he came on for half an hour with Oscar Bob. Played really well. Really good contribution in those 30 minutes, beating his man twice, looked after the ball really well. 30 minutes of football, I was actually very impressed by Bernardo Silva when he came on, so I've given him a 6.5 because it's only 30 minutes. Foden, I wanted to see a bit more from, the first half in particular, I wanted to see a bit more from him in the open play, but I thought his corners were vicious. And we were, obviously one came off the back of Jake O'Brien's head, nearly turned into his own net, could have been an own goal there. I just think the consistency of Foden's corners now are so good. We talk about Declan Rice and Arsenal's, and we've not actually scored from a corner yet this season. I think we deserve to, with corners being delivered into the box like that, with the guys that we've got waiting in there, the likes of Haaland and Diaz. I think it's coming. It's coming. If Foden keeps delivering that ball like that, we're scoring from a corner soon. I'm almost certain of it. Second half, though, he definitely improved for me. It's great to see him getting stuck in with those ground jewels you can see there. Those 4 key passes are a little bit flattering, though, because I think 3 of them were actually at 2-0 when it was like stoppage time, because he kept finding Erling Haaland in the final moments of the game. But he did feed that ball through to O'Reilly that split them open. First goal comes from Phil Foden, so credit where credit's due. I just thought I would have liked to have seen a bit more from open play from Phil Foden in that first half, giving him a 7. Doku, he had a tough afternoon, really, in all honesty. I still thought he was the main threat in the first half in particular. I thought he was a constant thorn in Everton's side, but never amounted to anything, and they were doubling up on him. You know, it's so tough for him to get past Ndeye, going past the gauntlet of Everton defenders that were laid out in front of him. It wasn't easy for Doku in that game, and the output became that, you know, because as a result of that, the output just wasn't there. He still tried to get a few crosses in, but he missed a massive opportunity as well, did Doku. I thought it was a tame finish, should be probably hitting the back of the net really there, but he scuffed it with his heel a little bit. He only played the hour though. I still think he's our best in-form winger, and I was a little bit surprised to see Savinho come off, even though he's the one who gets an assist later into the game. I still thought Doku looked more threatening than Savinho. Taking him off in the hour probably suggests he's going to play against Villarreal. I think there's more managing of the minutes there than you're not playing well, off you get type substitution from Pep. So I've given him a 6.5. Savinho, yeah, like I said, I was a little surprised to see him stay on the pitch, but turned out to be the right call in the end. You know, he gets an assist, some really good first touches in the first half. There was a long ball coming over the top, and Mahrez-esque touch where he just cushions it with the outside of his left boot on the inside of Mykolenko, and away he goes, strikes it cleanly. He had a not as easy a chance as Doku because the angle was much cuter, I think, but it was a tame finish. You should be smashing it, getting your laces through it, drilling that, forcing Pickford into a harder save than he produced. Still little moments from Savinho, and I mean, I'm buzzing that he gets the assist, so I think that's why I've given him a 7 as a result of it. So it's good to see those ground jewel numbers as well, actually, there. But yeah, Savinho, 7 out of 10. Oscar Bob, he came on for Doku for half an hour alongside Bernardo Silva, showed some flashes of quality. Managed to contribute pretty well, actually. Shot on target, beating his fullback, winning the ball back as well. Really good, great to see. Good to know we've got these options. Oscar Bob, brilliant, giving him a 6. Haaland, I mean, guy's just crazy, isn't he? He's just like insane. He's only got an 8.5 and a man of the match performance, obviously. And the 8.5, it would have been a 9, even if he'd scored 2 and we won the game 2-0 and he scored both goals, it would have been a 9 had he not missed all those chances at the end, because that's got to bump your score down a little bit. You've got to take a little bit of a hit. And here's me being critical for Erling Haaland. How dare you? How dare you be critical of Erling Haaland? But I mean, you did miss like 3 big opportunities. I mean, he could have been coming away with 5 goals really here, Erling Haaland. But I mean, you know, hat-trick minimum is what I would have expected really there. But still, he won us the game. You can't deny the guy's quality. The importance of this guy, man. I mean, we all focused on what he doesn't do, man. It's what he does do. That's what everyone was always focused on, is what he doesn't do. But let's just admire what he does do, because what he does do is better than what anyone else can do. Facts. There's no denying that. 8.5 for Erling Haaland. Absolutely sensational. It feels so good being a Manchester City fan right now. It really does. Like, there's an aura about the team. There's an aura about the club. And I would argue there's a level, and not just me, I'm talking about generally. I got the vibe in the chat. Big up to all of you that tuned in for the watch along yesterday as well. The chat was just positive. And I see it elsewhere, and I read other City fans' opinions, and everyone's just like uplifted. There's just a sense of something's happening here. There's something simmering for Manchester City. Very, very positive signs. It could all come crumbling down. We've all got that little niggling feeling in the back of our minds like, hang on, it could go wrong. But like, we've got to ride this wave right now, because it's a wave of positivity that sent us to the top of the league temporarily, because Arsenal went and beat Fulham, but it sent us to the top of the league. And here we are. We've got a good opportunity to do it again next weekend, away to Villa. Of course, we've got Villarreal in between. Blues, massive part of the season for Manchester City. Let me know your thoughts, like and subscribe to Typical City, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is Typical City now, holding up silverware.